hands. I do that so often, I probably have athlete's mouth. So, anyway.
Yes.
There you go. The last piece of the puzzle is that I have a minor correction. Jamie Claire, where are you, Jamie Claire? There you are. Mentioned a statistic this morning about somebody that spoke of having at least one board member having a professional wife as a requirement to be on the board. The recommendation was actually for 2 people to have commercially professional wives on a board. When that suggestion was made, it was received poorly. I'll just let you know that. I thought it was a great idea, but it was received poorly. Okay, let's get into the presentation. We are Team Well Engaged. Kim Thompson, Anna, who is here. Kim couldn't make it. She had some family obligations. Scott, a.k.a. Chris. Emily Winfield, and I say there's a story here. Emily is a professional musher. She raises dogs, and she's a preservationist because you have historical dogs, right? So anytime we got on the phone to talk about what we were trying to get accomplished, it was always an entertaining session because we always asked Emily what she had done the night before because it might be wolves. She lives in Alaska, by the way. Might be wolves, might be mooses or meese or whatever the plural is of moose. I guess it's moose is moose, right? Anyway. Emily Waldenmeyer couldn't be here because she's about to grow the population. So she was restricted from flying. Kristen is here as well. Kristen was a huge help. Christine, great help. Christine was raised in Cairo. And I'm not talking about Cairo, Illinois. I'm talking about the real Cairo. And I did a little bit of research on that. Did you know there are this is useless information, but did you know there are 24 states that have a Cairo as a town? She's from the real Cairo. Chris is here, and then last and certainly least is me. You can call me Spike if you want to. My friends call me Spike. And there's a story behind that. I'll save that for later. All right. Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, but let me start off by inviting you all to do a breathing exercise. We did it once with our cohort, and we want to do it again with all of you. So if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes, but we're going to connect our 2 main centers, our heart and our gut, our belly. So put your right hand on your heart, left hand on your belly, and if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. And we're gonna take a deep breath on a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. And then just one last time. Hold and release. Just hold that space for 1 more minute. Release any tension you may have. Let's recenter, refocus, be present. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Whenever you want, this is a go-to exercise. It really connects both of your centers, and it helps us to release any tension. Nowadays, with our hectic lives, a minute of mindfulness really goes a long way, and this is a great exercise to do. And the pandemic has taught us the importance of slowing down. It has brought a shift of consciousness. It has raised the stakes on mental and physical health. And not just for the individuals, but collectively for all businesses. We've seen all the challenges that our AEC workforce is facing nowadays. And our team really truly believes that wellness can be a company differentiator and can help us solve many issues that we face today, like mental, physical health, talent retention, recruiting, voluntary and involuntary turnover, job planning, and job satisfaction. Our project focuses on taking a holistic wellness approach that improves work-life balance and promotes well-engaged employees and companies. But first, let's talk about the definition of wellness, which is very new today, and it has evolved for the past few years. That wellness today is an active pursuit of making choices that leads towards an optimal state of well-being, and this can be achieved by fully integrating all dimensions of wellness, and I'll leave it up to Chris to elaborate on this.
From our research, we were able to see quite a bit that was written on the wellness journey. What you see in front of you is the Wellness Suite, which shows the 8 dimensions of wellness. We are all products of these, and any one of these could affect our outcome from a performance standpoint, as well as being just okay or fine. The emotional wellness is coping effectively with life and creating satisfying relationships. Spiritual wellness, expanding our sense of purpose and meaning in life. Intellectual wellness, recognizing creative abilities and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills. Physical wellness, recognizing the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition. Environmental wellness, good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support well-being. Financial wellness, satisfaction with current and future financial situations. Occupational wellness, personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from one's work. Most firms within our industry and companies focus on the very last one that I mentioned, just what you can do for me. And what we're saying is to have engaged, well-engaged employees, they need to experience wellness in every one of these areas. What you see in front of you is a tool. It's a tool for an inventory that we like to provide everyone here that is both for an individual and a company. As I'm sure you've heard, everything starts with awareness. This is an exercise that I'm hoping that you would follow up afterwards as an individual and maybe share with your firm. Each one of these areas corresponds to a category, so to speak, and then you're able to rate them. A value of 4 or 5, this is a strong area with specific aspects that might need work, but overall, this area may be secondary to another that needs work. A value of 3 means this is an area that you're competent in. Things are okay. But there's certainly room for improvement. Small changes here could definitely have a great impact. A value of 1 or 2, there might be some potential risks in this area. This area should receive focus and work to improve. It could also impact all other areas. And I'm sure we've all felt it. When something at home is not quite as well, or our physical health, or our mental stability, every other area of our life is impacted. And so this is an exercise to do that. What I'd like to share with you is simply an example of what that could look like. So in this example, as an individual, there's categories under the physical wellness dimension. Nutrition, for example. Take an honest look at what's in your fridge. What is going into your mouth? Because sometimes it's what you're eating is what's eating you. Sleep. We are all aware of the recommendation, but when do you turn that phone off? When is the last email that you send in the day? Where is the phone at night? Next to the pillow? Activity. We all know the recommendation is the 3 to 5 times a week of moderate exercise. Is that from the parking lot to the office? There's recommendations as far as alcohol, smoking, and overall health as well. But I'll give you this. As an individual, as you're assessing yourself in this area, for example, A company could also assess themselves in this area as well. What's in the vending machine? What's in the company fridge? What's being ordered for the company holiday or birthdays or gifts that we're sharing with our clients? So this evaluation can be done by both an individual and the company. And in each one of these categories, there is a recommendation for the company to support the individual and the individual to even hold themselves accountable. We recommend this exercise be done often so that it's very clear as you are able to see areas of improvement within yourself and within the firm. So we ask our firm leaders to follow through with this. It's important to remember 3 things as you're doing this exercise. Each person is unique. There is no right or wrong answer to this wheel. And the responses are going to depend on where you are on the journey and your life stage and your season of life. So it's important to do this exercise often and to do it for yourself. Thank you. Scott? Or sorry.
So this is just a brief introductory slide to talk about how we regarded the development of our thesis and our deliverables. It's really about a journey. You either have to start or you're already on the journey, and you can do a self-assessment with some of the tools that we're going to talk about. But at the end of the day, if you think about starting and stopping, the intergalactic explorer is kind of infinity, right? You can go a long way out there. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about is a case study a little bit later on about that. So the next slide is really getting into the points and how we went about this. This is a little bit of an eye chart, although with this size it's great. Scott's going to talk about the point system and each one of these pieces of the journey. But that's the important thing to think about is this is a journey. It needs to be started, and you need to stay on it.
Yeah, like Dathan mentioned, these are kind of our 4 profiles of where you are on your wellness journey as a company. And you get that information from a questionnaire that Emily's going to talk about later too. But for now, I am going to go into all of these individual profiles. So it's a good way to tell you or your company where you're at on your journey. So the first one is the walk in the park. This is the first stop, these are companies that have scored between 0 and 30 out of 138 in our questionnaire. Park walkers are curious. They want to make their company have a wellness culture, but they're not quite there yet. But they've taken that first step. They've taken the quiz. They've identified where they are. And it's only up from there, given the resources and the effort from the company and the leadership. The second profile is the local explorer. These companies have put some resources and some effort into where they are on the in the questionnaire and where they are as far as the wellness culture in their company. They've finally left their comfort zone and they're branching out into multiple areas of wellness, the 8 areas that Anna explained. They've been educated and they've got a strong footing in the basics. They should be beginning to see the financial and morale boosting benefits of these programs. People are happier. The company should look at participation levels and to aim to improve the wellness programs reach within the company if they do want to improve. And if they do that, they will become international jet setters, which are companies that score between 65 and 98 in the questionnaire. They've become an example to their peers now on what a wellness program can cultivate. Business benefits are being fully realized and return on investment is being actualized. What this looks like is wellness is a priority for the leadership and the employees. There's just certain aspects they haven't mastered yet, and that takes us to the Intergalactic Explorer. There we go. Wellness is embedded in these companies' culture. Turnover has been clearly reduced. This is the gold standard for a holistic wellness company. However, there's always room to improve. They can maybe look to mix up the programs that they're using to better suit their company or continue to build what they already have if it's working for them. So now we'll pass it over to Emily to talk about the questionnaire.
So critical to our project was a way for companies to evaluate where they are on the wellness spectrum, from very basic wellness program to real inspirational, kind of the intergalactic explorer example. And this looked many different ways as we were developing our project, but ultimately we landed on a simple questionnaire. And to develop the questions, we really looked at the companies that we work for, and we looked at what benefits are provided, what we liked, what we wished we had, and even a bit of dreaming of what could be possible if wellness were really one of the true core values of the AEC industry. So we took all these questions and we divided them into the 8 dimensions of wellness. We have 8 separate categories. Companies fill out the questionnaires. Each question has a point potential of 0 to 3. And they add up all the points at the end and get a final score. That score then correlates to the traveler profiles that Scott described. And our idea in dividing up into the different profiles was to hopefully give companies an idea of what they could strive for, and also maybe motivate them to want to move up to the next category or the next profile. So when we were thinking about what motivates decision makers to put wellness as one of their core values, we realized pretty quickly that people have different experiences, different backgrounds, different value sets, and if we were going to have the reach that we wanted, we were going to need to take a multi-pronged approach. So in the AEC industry, like many others, we spend a lot of time working, and that's a huge potential for employers to make a positive impact on their staff. And we think it's not only a benefit, but an ethical responsibility for companies to provide for the holistic health of their teams. And we believe that empowering both employees and employers is the best approach and where you receive the greatest benefit. And employees need to feel empowered to stand up for their own wellness, while at the same time, employers need to recognize that burnout is real, that it happens at an increasing rate. They need to be able to identify it and hopefully right the course in time. And they also need to do what they can to prevent it. So in this model, both employee and employer are jointly responsible for holistic health. And we don't think this should be considered a burden that employers need to carry, but rather an investment in their most valuable asset, which is their people. And there's really no one better to speak on the value of investment than our very own numbers person, which is Dathan.
I might not even need a mic. Well, there we go. I was going to say, I might not even need a mic. So I have been accused of being a numbers guy. I suppose if you look at my track record, there's some justification of that. One of the things that I think is critically important is that wellness be regarded, as Emily said, as an investment. If you look at it as an expense, it's easy to get back into that old distinction of overhead versus revenue producing. And what we want to do is translate the mindset that an expense, you probably don't expect to get much back out of it except maybe some services or whatever. I mean, there's not really a return, okay? An investment, you expect a return. And that's what we want to convince everybody of, is that wellness is not an expense. We think, and what we are passionate about, is that it is a necessary investment. That's a big deal. So the other thing we can do is we can think about it as, how do we get some notion of what an investment looks like? Well, just because you can't measure exactly from an ROI perspective does not mean that you have, or that you fail to have, positive returns. So value of investment is a way to look at this. It's a little bit different mindset. Maybe for some of the financial types in your firm, that may be a little bit more of a challenge, but there is real value in thinking about and expecting benefits. Let's just talk about like one or two. If you think about turnover, and turnover is maybe 12, 13% maybe in our industry, if you kind of mix voluntary and involuntary. Well, what would the culture value be if your turnover was diminished to like 6%? Think about recruiting costs. I mean, somebody mentioned earlier in one of the presentations today that recruiting costs is like 1.25 times salary. That's a big number. Even the lower estimates of recruiting costs is somewhere around 100% of salary. Think about the lost productivity that you have from people being new to the job or having to orient to the systems or having to orient to the client. So if you have a culture that's based on wellness, we have anecdotal evidence from having looked at a bunch of firms that lower turnover is at least anecdotally related to wellness programs. Maybe a little less if it's a walk in the park, but you get up into the intergalactic classification, there is no doubt that you're going to get a positive economic benefit from that. Training costs, lost productivity, turnover, all those things are critically important. Any questions about that? If anybody has a burning desire to ask a question. Okay. Now, one of the things that's pretty important in thinking about this is, where are the resources? There's a lot of resources available, just tons and tons and tons, both on the wheels, both on the dimensions, and then also just how do we go about doing this, right? And it's not a mystery, or at least it shouldn't be a mystery, because there's good documentation of this. The wellness, well, hang on a second, I forget the name. It's the WCOA, the Wellness Corp of America, has a lot of slides, a lot of case studies. Yeah, there we go. The Wellness Council of America. It's a terrific resource. You can go to that website with that address and see what people have done, see what they think about, see how they go about it. It talks about value of investment. It talks about how to think about getting grassroots participation, senior leadership. I mean, it's got the whole continuum, the whole gamut. The CDC also has tons of information about that, and this is where we're going to get into a little bit of a discussion about a case study. If you go to the CDC website, this one, and you type in Garver Wellness Program, G-A-R-V-E-R. I think we have some Garver people here, don't we? There we go. So Caitlin back here, I'll just call her out. I think she can be a clear advocate for what goes on at Garver. I was involved in the Garver Wellness Program too at one point in time, and I can tell you personally that it was a terrific program. So if you go put that in the search engine, you'll have a case study that was prepared by a research team at the CDC. There were 6 companies that were profiled. Only one of them was an engineering firm. They found out about us because of some of the awards that Garver got. And they came and did a case study, spent a couple of days interviewing people, and then wrote that up. So that's a very worthwhile thing to go check out. All right. So I want to leave you guys with 3 things as we kind of close up. Actually, there's going to be a couple more that I want to add to it. I know this isn't a competition, but I will tell you we have the coolest team out of all the cohorts. We actually were disappointed when we had a meeting that wouldn't make because somebody got busy and we tried to reschedule it. So we had to, did we or did we not have a ton of fun? Yeah, it was big fun. And the other thing too, I mean, we all have such diverse backgrounds. One of the things you ought to do at the end of the session here is talk to Anna about bamboo. Yeah. She's an expert in construction for bamboo. I mean, it's just one of the things that, that goes into the kind of the, who are we and how does that happen? And, well, you guys did what? Anyway, So I can't brag enough on our team. I think it was just absolutely a fantastic team. Now, I want to leave you with 3 things, and we'll have a couple of minutes for questions, it looks like. Wellness is very important, becoming increasingly important. That's not going to change, and it leads to good people results. Very important, leads to good people results. It is a journey. You got to start somewhere. Our tools will show you where you are. Our tools will also show you where to go or what's possible, what's next. So we want to leave people with some motivation and some curiosity and some interest in, okay, we can go do this. This is a big deal. This is important. And the last thing, I've already stressed this once, and I'm going to stress it again because it's critically important. It is an investment. It is not an expense. And that will make all kinds of sense to your financial people when they say, well, man, that's expensive. Yeah, but look at what you get back. You know, over time, if we have healthier people, our insurance will go down, our recruiting costs will go down, our creativity will go up, people will be happier. It's all good stuff. It all works out. Now, the last thing, again, I want to go back to that case study just one time, real quick. Go take a look at it. It shows you what an engineering firm can do. They didn't come out of the blocks full blown with a great program. It took a long time. They had senior leadership buy-in, and at least for a while, they had a CFO that was very amenable to investments in the program. So that's it. Any questions? Any things that anybody want to say?
When we spoke earlier about evaluating the company and where it's at, we are seeing a lot of historical strides that are being taken nowadays. You know, a lot of us shared some about our company and, you know, maternity and paternity leave policies and things of that nature. I was very happy to share that as a construction company, our leadership has made the decision to close our job sites for respite of our people between Christmas and New Year's, not as vacation days, but additional days where our office is closed, and our hourly employees are also being compensated for those 40 hours. You know, when we talk financial, that is definitely an investment and, you know, giving up some profit for order for us to have a better life and to have a well-balanced holiday season, that we don't have to worry about the time off or we don't have to worry about the job being open. So that's an example where a company is making a stance for something like that, and I hope that more of you can share some of these experiences as we go back and we look, you know, evaluate ourselves and evaluate our companies. Thank you.
Any questions? All right.